34. To prepare his creatures so that they may reach the highest level, the height of which was spoken of in the preceding paragraph. The Holy Creator willed it to be accomplished in the order of 4 steps, developing one from another, and are called domem, inanimate, samaya, vegetable, high, animal, madaber, speaking. And in fact, they represent dalit behinit, the 4 stages of desire to receive, into which divide each world from the higher worlds. For although the bulk of this desire is contained in the behinit dalit, in the 4th stage of the desire to receive, but behinit dalit cannot unfold immediately, but it occurs in her under the influence of the 3 preliminary behinit stages, so that it unfolds and develops in and through them gradually until she is finally formed as behinit dalit. As explained in the Doctrine of the 10 Sephirot, Part 1, Chapter 1, or Nimi, none, beginning with the words, a cause. 35. And so in the Behinah Aleph, at the 1st stage of desire to receive, which is called domem, inanimate, and representing the beginning of the disclosure of the desire to receive in this material world, there is nothing but a driving force common to of the inanimate species, but the eye is incapable of to discern any movement inherent in its parts. The desire to receive generates needs, and needs produce movements sufficient to satisfy those needs. And since the quantity of the desire to receive is small, it has no power over anything but the commonality itself taken together, and its power over the parts is indistinguishable. 36. Complementing it is samaya, vegetable, which is behinah bet, the 2nd stage of desire to receive, at which the amount of that desire is already greater than that of the inanimate, and the desire to receive, contained within it, dominates every one of its parts without exception. For each part has its own private movement, which takes place both in the longitudinal and in the transverse direction relative to it and directed where the sun rises. Moreover, each part, without exception, has absorption of food and liquid and excretion of waste. And at the same time, none of the parts individually has yet to have a sense of individual freedom. 37. Complementing him is min hahai, a genus of animals, which is the behinah gimel, the 3rd stage. Desire to receive, and a rather large amount of this desire, has already been formed, so that this desire to receive already generates in each and every individual, without exception, a sense of individual freedom, consisting of a special life of each individual that is different from the life of the other individual. But they are not yet inherent in the feeling of the other individual. That is, they are completely incapable of distinguishing between individual manifestations. To grieve with sorrow or to rejoice in the joys of another person, and so on. 38. Complementing them all is min ha'adam, the human race. Human, who is behinah dalit, the 4th stage of the desire to receive, and it finally formed quantitatively. For his desire to receive in practice is manifested in him, and the same applies to the feeling of the other individual. And if you wish to know exactly how great is the distance from the behinah gimel, the 3rd stage of the desire to receive enclosed in the animal species, to the behinah dalit of the desire to receive enclosed in the human race. I tell thee that it is like the distinction of the significance of one of the creatures of the world from the whole world. For in the desire to receive contained in the animal species, lacks the sense of another individual, and it will be able to produce in it a sense of scarcity and need only in a small degree, as in this solitary creature. On the contrary, a human being who has also a sense of another individual, as a consequence of this, experiences a lack also of all that the another person, and is filled with envy, desiring to acquire all that the other has. And if he has some, he desires to have 200-fold, and in addition, all his inherent feelings of scarcity and needs continue to grow, until he desires to consume all that there is in the whole world. 39. And after it was discovered at the desired goal of the Creator of all the creation, he has accomplished of all creation that he has carried out, is only to bring pleasure to his creatures, so that they may realize his truth and his greatness, and then receive from him all the grace and bliss that he has prepared for them. As is evident from the verse of the Tanakh, Yirmiyahu 31:19, is not my dear son Ephraim? Is he not a child with whom they make merry, etc., etc.? It is quite evidently, it comes out that this goal is unattainable either with the great inanimate spherical objects such as the earth, the moon, and the sun, however brightly they shine, nor with the genus of plants, nor with the genus of animals, for they lack the sense of another individual, even members of a genus similar to them, and how can they have a sense of his honesty and goodness? But only belonging to the same human race after they have already possessed the capacity of sensing another individual of their own kind, and after working on the Torah and the commandments by which they turn their desire into its opposite, altruistic desire, and come to qualitative resemblance to their Creator, and as a result they attain all the steps that are prepared for them in the higher worlds and called Naranhai, Nefesh, Ruah, Nashama, Heya, Yaida, and become thus ready to reach the ultimate goal contained in the intent of creation. For the creation of all worlds was conceived for man's sake alone. 40. I know that this is something that absolutely can't come to the mind of a part of the philosophers, and they cannot agree that man, low in their eyes, must be the center of all great and sublime creation. But they are like that worm that is born inside a radish, and it sits there and thinks that the whole world, holy Creator, is so bitter and so dark and so small, in proportion to the radish in which this worm was born. But the moment he pierces the skin of the radish and takes a glimpse of what's beyond it, he marvels and says, I thought that the whole world was the size of the radish in which I was born. And now I see before me a world great, illuminated, wonderful, and incredibly beautiful. Such are those who are imprisoned in the klipa, inside the crust, of their desire to receive, by which they were born, and have not attempted to take special potions, which are the Torah and commandments, practiced and capable of. Pierce this unyielding klipa and turn it into it opposite, the desire to make a pleasure to their Creator. Of course, they are forced to conclude of their insignificance and emptiness, which is really inherent in them, and will not be able to conceive that all this great reality is not created for anyone but them. In fact, if they were engaged in Torah and the commandments for the sake of make the pleasure of their Creator, with all proper purity, and would have achieved that pierced the klipa of desire to receive, in which they were born, and would have gained altruistic desire. Would not their eyes be immediately open to themselves to behold and comprehend all the steps of wisdom, and the most valuable knowledge, and as many and pleasures as their hearts desire in prepared for them in the spiritual worlds, and then they themselves would say what are sages, may their memory be blessed. This is what the good guest says, with all that the master of the house. He did not trouble himself with for any the good guest says, with all that the master of the house hath borne himself, he hath not borne himself for any man but me. Bratchett, p. 5-8. 41. It remains to explain, finally, why to man all these higher worlds which Creator has created for his sake, and what need does man have for them? Need of this very man. And thou shalt know that in the most general terms all existing worlds are subdivided into 5 worlds. And they are called, 1. Adam Kadmon, 2. Aselet, 3. Bria, 4. Yetzirah, 5. Asiya. But each is divided into its constituent parts to infinity. And they are characterized as the 5 Sphirot Kahab Tum, Keter, Hakma, Bina, Tefereth, and Malhut. For the world of Adam Kadmon is Keter, and the world of Aselet is Hakma, the world of Bria is Bina, and the world of Yetzirah is Tefereth, and the world of Asia is Malhut. And the light, who are clothed in these 5 worlds, are called Yanaran, Yaida, Hea, Nashima, Ruah, and Nefesh. With the light of Yaida shining in the world of Adam Kadmon. The light of Hea is in the world of Aselet. And the light of Nashima is in the world of Bria. And the light of Ruah is in the world of Yetzirah. And the light of Nefesh in the world of Asiya. And all these worlds, together with all that is in, are enclosed in the holy name of Yud-K Vav-K and in the tip of Yud. For the first world, that is, Adam Kadmon, is impossible for us to understand, and therefore it is indicated only by the tip of the letter Yud of that name, and therefore we do not speak of it, but we mention always only the 4 worlds of the Abya, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. And this letter Yud is world of Aselet, and K is the world of Bria, Vav is the world of Yetzirah, the lower K is the world of Asiya.